welcome back to Davin Biology. Happy Chinese New Year, 新年快乐，恭喜发财。Now, this video, as you can see, it's a SBP 2022 trial. Of course, it's for your Form 5 2022 batch 1 lah. Okay, for you to do a bit of revision. Now, I'm going to break this video down into two parts. So part 1 will be section A, meaning we do structure question, of course. And then part 2 is essay, section B and section C lah. So we straight away start. Now, in this video, the link for the soft copy for this SB, I put it in the description already. You can go and get it. However, the answers, right, is only available in BM. I cannot find the English version, but that's why this video, I will mainly be doing answers in English lah. Okay, maybe I will mention a bit of BM, but mainly we do English because answers already have BM. Alright, so let's straight away start question 1. Now, question 1 is plants, Form 5, chapter 4. Xylem, phloem, tissue mainly. So I actually have a video regarding xylem, phloem, tissue, the vascular tissue. Yeah, you can go and find it on my channel. So tissue R, inside one is of course xylem. Outside one is of course phloem. You should know this by now. Okay, but let's say if they didn't show you inside, outside, how are we going to differentiate? Now, phloem always looks like a bamboo with a cell. There's a cell beside it. Now, for xylem, it looks a bit like bamboo also, but this is not a cell. So, by the way, this is called xylem vessel, and then this is called trachete. Yeah, so trachete doesn't look like a cell, and most of the time questions, right, they put the diagram, right, there's a few trachete, or not just one. So anyway, straight to question A1. Tissue R is, we already mentioned, xylem, right? And P and Q. Now, the bamboo, where mainly the organic substance, the sugar or the sucrose specifically flows, is called sieve tube. Okay, tube tapis in BM. And Q is his friend, the teman him. BM is cell rakan. So in English, we call companion cell. Okay, now, next one, very common, they like to ask, right? This companion cell, like, what does it do? So, yeah, I mean, they say, explain how Q is adapted to its function in transportation of organic substance at tissue S. Yeah, so companion is friend, ma, right? So friend always help their friend, right? So companion Q is going to help sieve tube P. So what does it actually do? Okay, number 1, we can say it basically, I'm going to type it here, contain mitochondria. What does mitochondria do? Obviously provide energy. Okay, now I'm going to explain a bit first before I continue here. So what is energy for? This energy, right, is to help the sucrose, help the phloem to transport the sucrose from the leaf into the sieve tube. Okay, that's what the friend is for. Why? That's because if sucrose and flow inside here is low to high concentration, you need energy because it's active transport. However, sieve tube inside here, right, is empty one. There's no organelles one. Means they don't have their own mitochondria to produce their own energy. That's why they need companion cell help to give them the energy so it can transport the sucrose from the leaf cells into the sieve tube. So then after that, it can flow. Understand? Hope I made it very clear. So, yeah, mitochondria for what? Is to provide or to generate energy. You don't have to say ATP, you can just say, or you can say ATP better lah, in the form of ATP to transport sucrose from the leaf cells into sieve. Right, so by the way, if you want to copy, you can just pause and copy. So once I write finish it, I'll still continue, right? Okay, next, B. 1.2 shows a setup apparatus used in the study of photosynthesis. The leaf was supplied with radioactive isotopes, carbon-14 in the form of CO2. Okay, so a bit of physics over here. Okay, but nothing to do with physics over here. So we know that plants photosynthesis, right, they need carbon dioxide. However, this carbon dioxide, the carbon here consists of carbon-14. And this plant, okay, once it absorbs this carbon dioxide, they call the carbon-14, right? It's exposed for sunlight for 2 days. After 2 days, the thin section was cut from stem And then X-ray radiography was applied to the stem section. It was found that there were few dark areas correspond to certain parts of the X-ray film. Now, because X-ray film can pick up radiation, so when they absorb the carbon dioxide, they use the carbon dioxide to produce their sugar already. Sugar, of course, will enter the phloem because phloem transport the sucrose, transport the sugar from leaf to all parts of plant. So that's why you can see here, the tissue that turned black over here is obviously the phloem. Actually, this question you don't even have to read here. Like, if you know your bio, right, phloem is definitely on the outer section, right? Xylem is on the inside. So if I see here black color, I know outside phloem. Yeah, easy. 1 mark. All right, question 2. So question 2 is Form 4, Chapter 4, Chemical Composition in the cell. So this one very obvious is carbohydrates. So if you forget what this chapter is about, it's about carbohydrate, protein, lipids, water, nucleic acid, which are components, chemical composition of a cell. So you can see here they already give you galactose, which is a monosaccharide. So what they're showing here is mono plus mono equals to a disaccharide plus water. So by now you should know already this process is called condensation. Okay, condensation. So if I break it down, means I break down the di into monosaccharide, that will be hydrolysis. Right, so when I see this galactose, I already know this is glucose and this is definitely lactose. Okay, so some of you is asking me how you know leh? Why so king one? Okay, actually, now I'm going to mention this for my students. You should hear this a few times already lah. Okay, but let's say if you still don't know, okay, now I tell you. So, how do you remember mono disaccharide punya combination? So remember every di have 2 mono, right? 1 plus 1 equals 2 ma. So every disaccharide has at least 1 glucose molecule. So I'm sure you all know what is glucose. Glucose is like the most easiest monosaccharide. Okay, then the second monosaccharide, you just remember girlfriend goods. Okay, so this is glucose, fructose, and just now here one, the galactose. Then the combination, you just remember like this. Now the combination here, a bit of Chinese lah. Okay, so the first one, glucose, maltose, gu mao, remember. Then girlfriend, besides good girlfriend, also sweet, sucrose. And the last one is the easiest, galactose. So the lactose is already in it. Milk punya sugar. Next, explain the formation of molecule R. So they asked us to explain condensation process. So now if you mention condensation, you get 1 mark. Alright, but of course you have to explain a bit. Now, how do you explain condensation? You just follow the equation only. Just follow 1 plus 1 equals 2 plus water. So you can just say 1 glucose molecule combines with 1 galactose molecule to form a lactose molecule while releasing water. So in BM is almost the same as satu molecule glucosa. Combine is, you can say, use the word berpadu dengan satu molecule galactosa untuk membentuk molecule lactosa dengan meninggikan molecule air. And then you can say melalui through condensation. Next, a baby is having diarrhea and vomiting after drinking milk that contains molecule R due to have problem of his digestive system. So this is obviously lactose intolerant punya problem lah. People who cannot digest milk sugar, lactose. So explain why this condition happened. Yeah, so if you mention the condition, the baby is lactose intolerant. 1 mark. Explain. So why certain people cannot digest lactose is because they don't have the enzyme lactase. They can't produce the enzyme lactase to digest the lactose. So you can just say that lor. Because the baby's digestive system you can say lack of enzyme lactase. So I'll give you one more point, hence unable to digest the lactose in milk. So that's the answer. Moving on, next one. Oh, we're done already. Question 3. Okay, so you all should know that the marks, right? So you have 8 structural questions. So the marks will be 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9. So total you have 8 structural questions in section A. So this one will be a 6-mark question. Also, this is actually Form 5, chapter, the pollution one, chapter 10. Now, usually this chapter likes to come out in essay. So last year already this came out in essay, but I do expect maybe it have a chance to come out in essay also because it's a very common essay question. But they do also have possibility to come in structure this year lah. Okay, so this obviously you can see here is the threats towards the environment. Means what kind of pollution, what kind of human activity lead to different kind of pollution here. So you can see this one obviously got acidic gases forming acid. So this is of course acid rain. The first question they already asked, what phenomenon is this? So it's acid rain, acid hujan. So remember, phenomenon means like the threat, the pollution here caused. A2, how this phenomenon occur. Now, how this phenomenon occur, okay, for this kind of threats, right, if possible, try to name the human activity involved. Okay, which in this case is smoke from factory, or you can say burning fossil fuels, because factory punya smoke usually are burning of petrol, fossil fuels, and the pollutants. So number 1, human activity. Number 2, pollutant. So this is how we explain causes. Then the third point, you need to explain a bit like how the pollutant lead to the phenomenon. So then you could explain here. So very simple. Number 1, I say the smoke released by factory contains, they already tell you here, NO2, SO2, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. Number 1. Okay, next, when this pollutant goes out, it's going to combine with the water in a cloud, the water vapor, to give you acid. So the acidic gases mix with water form acid over here. So these 2 acid, very basic acid in your chemistry, like H2SO4, HNO3, nitric acid, sulfuric acid. And as you can see, when these, you can say gases or pollutants combines with water vapor in atmosphere, it will produce nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Then acid rain occurs. Next, B. Explain the effect of the phenomenon named in A1 on aquatic life. So now for threats in environment, very important also, you must know the effects. Okay, let me give you a bit of tips on effects. So not just like acid rain, right, but other threats, like let's say the greenhouse effect, global warming one, thinning of ozone layer. So all these, right, the effects, they are quite similar. Means they will impact plants, animals, humans. So for plants, right, whenever like there's something that affect plants, right, you can always relate to agriculture, plantation, 农业. So animals and humans are also very common, they will be affected lah. So humans usually we relate to like diseases. What kind of disease could cause to human? Okay, so this one they want on aquatic life because obviously you can see acid rain can rain into river, right? So aquatic life will be more affected by acid rain because if you are, let's say, a deer or a dog, you live on land. If rain, you can still find shelter and hide from the acid rain. But for them, right, they cannot hide anywhere because when acid rain falls into river, the river become acidic. Wherever they go is acid, unless they come out from water. But come out water, they will die. So they'll be more affected lah, aquatic life by the acid rain. So they're asking over here the effect. So you can say the acid rain causes, you can say river to be acidic. Now, when the river becomes acidic, obviously fishes will die. Not just fishes, but usually microorganisms will die first. Like, there's a thing here called phytoplankton. So phytoplankton, I write it down here. So, which kills phytoplankton that is a producer in aquatic food chain. So microorganisms are more likely affected. So specifically this microorganism is a producer. Phyto means sunlight, means they use sunlight to photosynthesis, punya microorganisms. So if they die, they are producer, the whole food chain will be affected. Then slowly small fish, big fish also will die. So that is what will happen lor. So hence, you can say disrupting the aquatic food chain. Yeah, because if it's, let's say, 2 marks, right, I can just say aquatic fishes will die. If it's just 2 marks, right? Acid fishes die. But this one 3 marks, so I got to explain a bit. Got to talk a bit about the food chain. Okay, so I say the microorganisms die first, then slowly other fishes will slowly die. Understand? Right. Then next, name the type of pollution that occurs when smoke emitted from an industrial area increases in the atmosphere. So 1 mark, smoke. What kind of pollution? Air pollution lah, this one. Okay, so acid rain, greenhouse effect, these are mainly air pollution lah. Now, next, this is Form 4, Chapter 9. Now, a very highly expected topic in this year's SPM. So this part, we are specifically focusing on the digestive system lah, as you can see here. So this is small intestine. This whole thing obviously is your villus. Explain the adaptation of structure P in absorbing digested food. So structure P is the epithelial cell epithelium in BM. So no matter what kind of nutrient you are glucose, your amino acid, or even let's say fatty acid, you need to definitely pass through the epithelial cell first before you can be absorbed into the body. Pass through the epithelial cell of the villus. So what is the adaptation for epithelial cell to absorb nutrients? So epithelial cell, on their surface, they have a lot of microvilli. So this microvilli increases the surface area for absorption. Okay, so how does it increase surface area? Because you can see there are more surface area, so the substance can come in from the side like that. Okay, so we can say it has microvilli, has numerous microvilli. Bilangan microvilli yang banyak. Villi or villus are same thing, which increases surface area for absorption. But of course, I know some of you also will be thinking about this one. You also can say one cell thick. The epithelial cell, the wall is literally one cell thick. See, it's so thin. That's why substance also can pass through it rapidly. You want to say that also can, correct? One substance that is absorbed into Q. Now, after your epithelial cell already, right? Inside your villus, there are 2 structures. You have Okay, I'm going to highlight this in green color, the green color thing in the middle, which is Q. And then you have blood capillaries that surround it. So you got to remember, blood capillaries, they absorb non-lipid substance, which is glucose amino acid. The green color one is called lacteal, which absorbs basically fats, lipid, fatty acid, glycerol, vitamin A, D, E, K, the fat vitamin. So one substance, yeah, you can write vitamin A. You can write fatty acids. Vitamin A, lah, the easiest one, A, D, E, K vitamin. Moving on, next, a male adult has infection that causes inflammation in structure R, so that is your large intestine, as being the effect of this situation on the absorption process that takes place at R. Right, so what will happen over here now? He's an infection, so we're going to assume that this infection is going to affect the function of the large intestine because it's on the absorption process. So yeah, because if you forget what does large intestine do, right? It carries out reabsorption. Penyerapan semula. So you must write the semula because absorption mainly occurs in small intestine. Then whatever substance that didn't absorb by the small intestine, they reabsorb it at the large intestine. So you can say the reabsorption process in R will be less efficient. Because let's say got infection, be the wall like injured already, so the substance very hard to pass through lor. So you can say lesser. So what does large intestine reabsorb? Mainly is water, mineral ions, and vitamin K lah. These are the three things mainly reabsorbed by large intestine. Reabsorbed. Yeah, there's nothing much. You just say like what cannot be reabsorbed only. Okay. Now next, this one actually here is the poop. Yeah, here cannot see very clearly. 4.2 shows a condition that occurred in the human rectum during defecation. Why the situation in 4.2 occurs compared to 4.28, B compared to 8. So in 4.2b, you can see that the poop is not really like flowing properly, right? You can see the poop here, all is like at the end here get ready to come out, but here is like flowing actually quite slow. Now actually if you don't understand what they're showing here, I explain to you. The poop here is actually not flowing too smoothly. So this is actually what they're trying to tell you here is actually the constipation. Sembelit便秘 Yes, so there answers to explain why the 4.2b will have constipation. So basically want you to explain what caused constipation. Now very simple. Mainly number one, we all know. You don't eat what will have constipation. Lack of what? Fiber, vegetables, right? So you can see the person in 4.2b lacks of fiber in diet. Now, why lack of fiber will cause constipation? Because fiber, right, makes your poop looser. So therefore, when peristalsis occurs at the time, they can push the feces easily. Therefore, you go and poop that time is very smooth, come out like that. But now since there's no fiber, your poop is like very hard. So peristalsis is very hard to occur. So that's what you need to say here. Less fiber in diet, so causing less peristalsis in the large intestine. So therefore, the feces unable to move properly in large intestine. Because when peristalsis cannot occur, right, your poop cannot move. So your poop cannot move, right? Your large intestine will mainly absorb a lot of water because your shit cannot move properly, so a lot of water will be reabsorbed. So this will cause your feces to become hard and then constipation. So that's the full explanation for constipation. Like, yeah, I know this is only 2 marks, but never mind, I just give you everything here in case it come out in an essay. So we can say causing more water to be resorbed in feces. So therefore, the feces becomes hard and constipation occur. Okay. Yeah, but this is structure, right? So structure, you actually can just say 1, 2, then 3 lah. Structure, you write these few points should be more than enough already. Alright, next question. 5.1 shows organ that is involved in the process of regulating the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in blood of individual J. So this is actually Form 4, Chapter 13, which is the Homeostasis chapter, regulation of internal environment. So this one is regulation of partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Now, regulation of partial pressure of carbon dioxide also means regulation of blood pH. Because when you have too much carbon dioxide in your body, typically during vigorous activity, because cellular respiration increase, you produce more carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide combines with water to form something called carbonic acid. Okay, I write here H2CO3, which is carbonic acid, acid carbonic. So that's what causes your blood to be acidic. And then your body will detect with blood too acid, it needs to regulate it back to normal because acid is bad for living things lah. So there's a receptor in your brain, they ask you to name here, that detects blood pH. So the receptor here is called chemoreceptor. It actually is central chemoreceptor. So there are 2 chemoreceptors. One's called peripheral chemoreceptor that is located in your blood vessel. Then it will send signal to the central chemoreceptor in your brain, which is located in the respiratory center in the medulla oblongata. So medulla oblongata is the part of your brain that controls involuntary actions, especially breathing and heartbeat. So if your carbon dioxide level is high, you need to breathe out the carbon dioxide. So medulla oblongata will then send signal to your lungs to make you breathe faster, breathe out the carbon dioxide. That's why when you're exercising that time, you cannot control your breathing rate. You breathe fast automatically because medulla oblongata controls involuntary actions. Now A2, state the function of receptor X that name in A1. So receptor X is to, of course, 1 mark only so it's to regulate. Here already tell you here partial pressure of CO2 in blood. Label the medulla oblongata. Oh, I already mentioned here. It's already here. Yeah, basically saying it a bit we point here. Here's where the medulla oblongata is. Individual J is competing in a school athlete tournament. Explain the role of receptor X in regulating the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the individual's blood. Now, receptor X, so receptor will detect the changes. Then it will then cause the medulla oblongata to make you breathe faster. So you can say receptor X detects decrease in your blood pH. Okay, because you can see because CO2 combines with water to form carbonic acid. Okay, so they want me to explain. So now I detect already, then how it regulate. Okay, so you can say the respiratory center in medulla oblongata. Because because you see here, the respiratory center, the chemoreceptor and medulla oblongata, they are all together. Actually the receptor X and the respiratory center is inside the medulla oblongata. So once they sense blood acidic, they know there's too much carbon dioxide. The medulla oblongata will then send signal to your lungs to make you breathe out. So that's what I'm going to explain here. So here I already mentioned I detect already blood acid because too much carbon dioxide. So now I want to control my breathing. Also, the respiratory center in medulla oblongata sends nerve impulse to your lung punya muscle. So the two muscles in your lungs is called diaphragm and intercostal muscle. To contract and relax faster. Okay, otot intercostal dan diaphragma untuk mengejut dan mengendur dengan cepat. So once they contract and relax faster, your breathing rate increases. You breathe out the carbon dioxide. That's how you regulate. Okay, so actually for this structural question, right, like that is enough already. But of course, you also can say breathing rate increase, more carbon dioxide is eliminated. Next, state the similarities of homeostasis that occur between individual J and K. Okay. What's this thing they're trying to show here? Systolic diastolic pressure. Alright, this will have high blood pressure right now, you can see. Because the normal blood pressure is 120/80. So this obviously have this person blood pressure high. So that's individual K. So J just now was this guy, high carbon dioxide level. So in our body, homeostasis, right, is controlled by using something called negative feedback mechanism. What's the meaning of that? Means you do the opposite. So you can see just now, when carbon dioxide level high, my body react by decreasing it. Means my blood acid I increase back to normal. Right? So I do the opposite. So this one also the same. If your blood pressure high, you need to do the opposite to decrease the blood pressure. It's also the same for blood sugar. Blood sugar too high, you decrease. Blood sugar too low, you increase. So that's called negative feedback mechanism. So that is one of the similarities here. Swap balik negative in PM. So both involves negative feedback mechanism. And then next, homeostasis, right, is basically like got nervous system involved. Means you involve receptor that help you detect the changes, whether too high or too low. You need your effector to help you carry out the response. So like just now the effector was my lungs punya muscle, intercostal diaphragm, help me to breathe faster, respond. Then blood pressure is basically your heart and your blood vessel. That is your effector. So you also can say both involves effectors. Both involve receptor. So these are 2 points. You can say that. Understand? Next. Okay, so this is another plant topic. Form 5, chapter 2. Photosynthesis, actually this one. So this graph, by the way, is for the compensation point that topic. So if you don't, by now you usually don't know what is this graph right now. This graph actually is showing the relationship between two processes in plant, respiration and photosynthesis. In this graph, you can see here, intake of CO2 decrease. Intake of CO2 increase. So intake CO2 is what process? Photosynthesis. So this part of the graph is indicating photosynthesis. And this part, you can see intake of CO2 decrease. So I'm not absorbing CO2. So what process in plant involves not absorbing CO2, that's obviously respiration, the opposite. So this part of the graph is respiration, and then this part here is photosynthesis. Okay, and the x-axis you can see is light intensity. So when light intensity low, no sunlight, you cannot photosynthesis, so you don't absorb carbon dioxide, you carry respiration. However, when there's sunlight, you absorb more carbon dioxide because got sunlight, you carry out photosynthesis. A1, what is X? So X is whereby photosynthesis and respiration is the same. So this usually occur when the sun just about to rise, about to come out around 6 something, 7 o'clock in the morning like that. Because this is where the plant will start to transition from respiration to photosynthesis. So when respiration decrease during this part, photosynthesis slowly increase. So they will reach a point whereby photosynthesis, respiration, the same. So this is called compensation point. Now this not necessarily occur just in the morning, it could occur in the evening that time. Because during evening when sun start to go down, sunset that time, when there's lesser sunlight, photosynthesis decrease. Then this is where respiration will increase back. Then you have second compensation point. What happened at X? So whenever they ask what happens at compensation point, number one, the easiest one to start with is respiration rate, same as photosynthesis. Okay, so we can say the rate of photosynthesis is the same as rate of respiration. Then you got to explain. If photosynthesis is the same, respiration is the same, what else is same? First, you can talk about the carbon dioxide law. The carbon dioxide absorb and carbon dioxide release is the same because photosynthesis absorb carbon dioxide, respiration release. So if they are both the same, it will be the same as well. So rate of CO2 absorption is the same as rate of CO2 released. You can also talk about oxygen because photosynthesis release oxygen, respiration use oxygen. So you also can write oxygen. So there are two different points here. And one more, you can also talk about glucose. So by glucose, you don't say absorb, release. We say rate of glucose consumption. Respiration use glucose, right? And glucose production. Photosynthesis produces glucose. Will be the same as well. So these are the three things we can actually mention in compensation point. Next, predict the effect of plant growth if situation constantly remains at X for a long period of time. So a very common question here. If you compensation point for too long, first you got to ask yourself, is this a good or bad thing? Okay, I'll let you think first. So a lot of you say, good ma? Okay, right? Good, right? Okay, actually it's not good. Why is it not good? Because number one, whatever glucose you produce during your photosynthesis is 100% used by your respiration. Let's say I produce 5 glucose during photosynthesis. Respiration use glucose, but I use back the 5 because they are same rate. Meaning, you don't have extra glucose for the plant. Remember, in plants, glucose is for growth, for development. So this is what they will lack. So we will say number one, there will be no extra glucose is produced for growth and development. So I say because all glucose is used for, all glucose produced during photosynthesis is used for respiration. So stunted growth or the plant unable to grow or the plant will die so the plant will have stunted growth. In BM we will call this as how to say stunted growth? Shit. Oh my god. Or we will say pertumbuhan terpantun. Next, explain differences between R and S. So that is basically respiration and photosynthesis, which here I already mentioned to you already, because when one uses something, the other one produces it. So the classic example is oxygen and carbon dioxide. Absorb CO2, release CO2. Absorb oxygen, release oxygen. One consume glucose, one produce glucose. It's basically all here already. Okay, I believe you should be able to do this yourself. Okay, so I will skip this. Now this question, I'm going to skip this question. This is Form 4, Chapter 6, Cellular Cell Division, Mitosis, Meiosis. So this year, I don't really expect this question to come out. So I think you can practice this yourself. It's quite an easy question, so I leave it to you. Any question, you always can DM me, ask me any questions, or comment below. Answers are already provided, but I only have BM, but English one you should be able to do yourself. Okay, so I trust you on that. Okay, last question here, question 8. So this is Form 4, Chapter 9. Now, this chapter, I have high hopes that this question will come out in this year SPM Form 4, Chapter 9, because last year don't have. It might even come out in essay. Now, if this question come out, food chain, the trophic level, quite a common thing they will ask here. So besides, they mix a bit of Chapter 8 because there's a bit nitrogen cycle over here. Now, besides trophic level, right, for Chapter 9, okay, I give you also a bit of tips on what else to focus on. Besides the trophic level, right, the atas troph, right, you also can look at the relationship between biotic component, the parasitism, commensalism, the other one is mutualism, that one. Yeah, this one also focus a bit lah. Okay, question what? You have a food chain over here. Carrot, eaten by rabbit, eaten by fox. State the niche of a fox. Now, 1 mark question, not a very tough one, but a lot of you would not know what is niche. Now, niche means role, peranan, role of an organism in the ecosystem. So the role here, what's this food chain? I mean, inside the food chain, what is the role of fox? Producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer. So that is the niche. Pengguna sekunda, secondary consumer. So the role is to eat the rabbit. It's that simple. Next, calculate the amount of energy that is transferred to the organism in the third trophic level. Third trophic level. Alright. So remember, every time from one level to another, you only pass down 10%. 90% will be lost. So 80,000 to carrot only will get 8,000. Rabbit will get 800. And fox will only get 80. Okay, so how do we calculate this? Is 80,000 times 10% means times 0.1. So you need to times it 3 times to the power of 3 times 10% times 10% times 10%. So you get 80 kilojoule. That would be the answer. One similarity between rabbit and fox in the food chain above. One similarity, they are both consumer. They need to eat other organism to obtain energy. 1 mark only, so both are consumers. Okay, so nitrogen cycle, this is actually chapter 8 from 5. So they mix a bit. So yeah, 8, chapter 8, 9, 10 could mix a bit one because their topics also somehow a bit related. They are under the same theme, same topic one. So nitrogen cycle, first you have dead fox over here. Process X become ammonium. So this is actually, now this is not nitrogen fixation. This is actually ammonification. ammonification. So it's a process of basically it's decomposition also lah, because you break down dead organisms to get ammonium. So in nitrogen cycle, ammonium mainly also comes from the nitrogen in the air. This is called nitrogen fixation. Pengikatan nitrogen. So there are two ways ammonium are being produced. The main one is this one, and sometimes dead animals, they decompose by bacteria to give you ammonium as well. Okay, the second process over here, ammonium become nitrite NO2 minus, sorry, my chemistry not good, NO3 minus nitrite and nitrate. So this process is a second process. It's called nitrogen fixation. Sorry, I suddenly forget already. Oh yeah, it's called nitrification. Nitrification. And actually, if one more process is whereby you return everything back to nitrogen. So okay, here is a cycle, means cycle you need to return back where you came from. So this one becomes nitrogen gas and oxygen gas. The last process here is called denitrification. Okay. Explain the difference between process X and Y. So the first difference we can write the name. Okay, name. So this is ammonification. This is nitrification. Okay, then now the next thing we can talk about is what bacteria they involve. So this one we can say it involves decomposer bacteria. Yeah, decomposers can already. This one involves nitrifying bacteria. So these two bacteria, nitrifying bacteria lah. Or you want to name the specific bacteria so okay, Nitrobacter. So how do you remember these two? Nitrosomonas is always the first one. Nitrobac is behind the second one. But these two bacteria, they are commonly known as nitrifying bacteria. Now the last difference is basically explain like the process like that. So we can say this one is actually called it breaks down organic substances. Organic substance means like living things are organic substances, plants, animals. Okay, so we have dead organic substances into ammonium ions. Or this one basically converts ammonium ions into the NO2, NO3 into nitrite ions and nitrate ions. So that's the difference. And C, in Australia, rabbit is a pest. So in Malaysia, rabbit is a pet. So one letter, a lot of difference. So pests, how is a rabbit a pest? Mainly in Malaysia, rats are pests, right? Cockroaches are pests, right? But however, in Australia, they say they destroy a lot of agriculture yields by overgazing crops. Means they eat crops, they eat like the corn, the rice, all this. Apparently, in Australia, this is a problem. Now, I explain one method to reduce rabbit population. So in bio, we always learn how to kill pests in agriculture. It's through biological controller. You rear something, an animal, a predator to kill the prey. So in this case, our predator will be owl. So you can say through biological control, kawalan biology. Then you can say by rearing a natural predator, or by using lah, you don't have to use the word rearing lah, by using a natural predator, such as owl, to reduce the rabbit population. Okay, so that is the last structured question. Question 8 done already. So essay, I will upload another video part 2 lah to go through. Now this video will be too long already, so you can have a short break. Within maybe 1 or 2 days time, the essay video will be up. Okay, so I catch you guys real soon lah. Good luck. 新年快乐，拜拜。